It's not often a coach wins a championship and gets fired less than a year later. But welcome to the WNBA, where success can apparently get you sidelined, and speaking your mind might just be a career-ending move. Sandy Brondello, yes, that Sandy Brondello, was just unceremoniously dumped by the New York Liberty. No scandal, no locker room meltdown, no public fallout. Just a neat, polished press release thanking her for everything she's done, while politely showing her the door.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
On the surface, a normal coaching change. But anyone paying any attention knows this wasn't about basketball. This was political, personal, petty. Because Brondello's real crime? She said something nice about Caitlin Clark. And suddenly, she was gone. Let's set the stage. The Liberty had just come off their best season in franchise history. A championship. A dominant postseason. The kind of year that cements legacies, earns contract extensions, and gets your name etched into team lore forever. Sandy Brondello had delivered exactly what New York fans had been begging for years. A title. Glory. Respect. But behind the scenes, she made a mistake of breaking the unspoken rule. Don't say the quiet part out loud. Don't publicly acknowledge the elephant in the room. Don't give Caitlin Clark too much credit. And Sandy did. In an interview just weeks before her firing, Brondello had the audacity to praise Clark, not just as a great rookie, but as someone who was fundamentally shifting the league's energy. And whether she meant it as a neutral observation or a bold compliment, it didn't sit well with certain power players. Because here's the thing. Caitlin Clark is not just a basketball player. She's a lightning rod. She's boosted ratings, sold out arenas, driven jersey sales, and brought a completely new demographic into the W. But instead of the league embracing that shift fully, it's like they're afraid of it. Afraid of her. Afraid of control. They might lose if one player gets too big. And so, praising Clark? That's risky business. Even if you've got a ring on your finger and a playoff resume, that's second only to legends. Even if you're Sandy Brondello. Let's talk about Sandy for a second, because this woman isn't just some temporary figure on the sidelines. She's a pillar of the WNBA coaching landscape. Former head coach of the Mercury, a championship there. Multiple Coach of the Year considerations. Over a decade of leadership experience. Her playoff win record is only behind one other name. This is not someone you let go lightly. Unless, of course, you're more concerned with narrative control than actual results. The message is crystal clear. Toe the line or you're out. And that message wasn't lost on Caitlin Clark. When the news broke, insiders reported that Clark's camp was furious. Not performative outrage. Genuinely upset. Clark has never been a drama queen. She keeps her head down, plays the game, answers the same recycled media questions with patience and poise. But this crossed a line. Sources close to her said she felt betrayed by the league. That Brondello, one of the few veteran coaches who treated her with full respect from day one, had her career tossed aside over a few words of praise. And what came next? That quote that started trending like wildfire. If this is how they treat people who support me, maybe I'm in the wrong league. Mic drop. Let that sink in. The WNBA has spent months profiting off Clark's name. Her face is on billboards. Her games are headline events. Her presence has tripled ratings. And yet, when someone within the system genuinely supports her, genuinely they're punished? What exactly are we doing here? Because if you're willing to fire a championship coach for not falling in line with the league's weird obsession with minimizing Clark's spotlight, you're not running a league. You're running a high school clique. And fans are noticing. Players, too. Becky Hammon, never one to bite her tongue, reportedly said in private circles that the decision was nonsense, adding that Sandy is a pro's pro, and this league is eating its own. Other players posted cryptic tweets. No names, no hashtags. Just enough to say, we see what's happening. And we don't like it. And honestly, who can blame them? Because here's what this firing really says. Merit doesn't matter. Championships don't matter. Loyalty doesn't matter. What matters? Saying the right thing. Supporting the right players. Keeping your mouth shut unless it fits the approved storyline. And that's not growth. That's control. The league says it wants to evolve, to go mainstream, to reach new fans, to become a global brand. But then it punishes the very people making that growth happen. Caitlin Clark isn't asking for special treatment. She's earning the attention she's getting. Every game, every stat line, every highlight reel. And Sandy Brondello? She just called it like she saw it. She didn't grovel. She didn't exaggerate. She acknowledged reality. Caitlin Clark is changing the WNBA. And for that, she got tossed. What's even more disturbing is how fast it all happened. No warning. No contract expiration. Just boom, she's out. Effective immediately. We thank her for her time. Cold, sterile, and cowardly. The Liberty front office put out their usual sanitized statement, but you could read between the lines. This wasn't about fit. This wasn't about direction. This was about compliance. And Brondello refused to play puppet. And now, the league has a bigger problem. Because if Caitlin Clark, your cash cow, is starting to question her place in your system, that's not just bad optics. That's a crisis. Clark doesn't need this league the way it needs her. Let that be clear. She could walk tomorrow and be a millionaire in endorsements, international leagues, exhibition tours. She's not dependent on the W for visibility. The W is depending on her to stay relevant, to keep growing, to stay in the headlines for the right reasons. And now, the league might have just created the worst-case scenario, a superstar with leverage and resentment. If Clark walks, you lose more than just a star player. You lose credibility, momentum, fans who only started watching because of her, young girls who saw themselves in her, parents who bought tickets for the first time ever, broadcasters who finally gave the WNBA the prime-time slot it's always wanted. Gone. In an instant. Because someone got fired for telling the truth. And let's not act like this is isolated. The league has been playing defense all season. Defensive about officiating. Defensive about favoritism. Defensive about who gets coverage. Who gets called a real hooper. Who gets respect. And it's exhausting. Fans are tired of the politics. Tired of the gatekeeping. Tired of being told who's allowed to be celebrated and who isn't. And now, they're angry. Because Sandy Brondello deserved better. And Caitlin Clark knows it. So where does that leave us? It leaves us at a crossroads. The league can either course correct, admit it overreached, and start treating its players and coaches with the fairness they deserve. Or it can keep playing puppet master and watch the empire crack from the inside. Because growth doesn't come from control. It comes from authenticity. From letting the game and the people in it shine. And right now, Clark is shining brighter than ever, whether the league likes it or not. So here's the question. Is the WNBA brave enough to embrace its future? Or is it too busy trying to protect the past? Let us know what you think. Was Sandy Brondello wrongfully fired? Should Clark speak out even more? Is this the moment the league finally wakes up, or the beginning of an even bigger unraveling? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit that subscribe button if you want the real story behind the headlines. Because in a league this dramatic, this political, and this messy, you're going to want to stay locked in. What we're watching isn't just a coach getting fired or a star player reacting. It's the beginning of a fracture, a split between what the league claims to be and what it actually is behind the curtain. Because if you strip away the PR gloss, the branding slogans, the photo ops, and the polished pressers, what's left? A coach like Sandy Brondello, with a decade of elite experience and a championship pedigree, tossed aside like an inconvenience. And a player like Caitlin Clark, arguably the biggest star the league has ever had, being made to feel like she's a problem for daring to inspire change. It's not just outrageous. It's delusional. And the worst part? The league seems to think we didn't notice. Let's be clear. Caitlin Clark didn't come into this league swinging at systems or demanding special treatment. She came in, laced up, and delivered, game after game, highlight after highlight. She packed arenas in cities where WNBA games never even used a sellout. She drew in fans who had never watched a women's basketball game before. She created buzz on sports networks that couldn't be bothered before she arrived. And what did she get in return? Shoved under the rug, undervalued, over-scrutinized, And now, apparently, punished by association. Because make no mistake, Sandy Brondello's firing was about Clark. Maybe not entirely, maybe not explicitly, but in the whispered conversations, the timing, the vibe, it was all there. The second Brondello made it clear she was all in on Clark's impact, the second she praised her openly, while others were pretending not to notice her astronomical influence, that's when the clock started ticking. You don't just fire a coach who wins you your first title ever unless you're trying to send a message. And the message is clear. Stay in line. Or else. That's not a sports league. That's a machine. And Caitlin Clark? She's not a cog. She's a force. And that force is starting to wake up. There are rumors now, quiet but growing, that Clark isn't just mad about Brondello, that she's watching the entire culture unfold around her and realizing something chilling. They don't actually want her to succeed. Not too much. They want her to perform, but not to challenge. They want her to bring the fans, the clicks, the ticket sales. But don't you dare step outside the box they've built for you. Don't act like a leader before they give you permission. Don't overshadow the established players, even if the numbers say you already have. Sound familiar? Because this isn't just about Clark. This is what happens to every generational talent when they start disrupting things that were supposed to stay untouched. It happened to Serena, to Tiger, to LeBron. Anytime someone reshapes a sport, the initial wave of love is followed by a storm of resentment, of control, of resistance. And now it's happening in real time to a 22-year-old rookie who just want to play basketball. It's not just gross, it's dangerous. Because here's what happens if the league doesn't get its act together. The growth stops, the fans leave, the buzz dies down, and the WNBA goes back to where it was before, clawing for airtime, begging for corporate attention, wondering why the momentum disappeared. It's already starting. Fans are loudly turning on the league. The comments are getting more hostile. People are calling out the inconsistencies, the favoritism, the double standards. And every time they stay silent about it, every time they pretend like we didn't see what happened to Brondello, it just adds fuel to the fire. And Clark? She's not stupid. She knows her power. She's watched what happens when systems try to clip wings instead of letting people fly. So when she said, maybe I'm in the wrong league, that wasn't a threat. That was a warning. Because Clark doesn't have to stay. There's a world of options out there. International leagues with more pay, more freedom, more respect. Endorsements, brand partnerships, ownership stakes. Hell, she could walk into a media gig tomorrow and own the basketball commentary space. She doesn't need this league to make history, but the league needs her. And if they don't wake up and realize it soon, it won't just be a PR nightmare. It'll be a collapse. Let's talk big picture for a second. This league has been begging for a breakout star for years. They've pushed every campaign, every angle, trying to force the next big name. But here comes Clark, organically, authentically, unstoppably, and what do? Treat her like she's radioactive. It's almost like they resent that she didn't come up through their channels, that she wasn't part of the in-group, that she didn't spend years slowly earning their stamp of approval. She just walked in and made waves. And instead of riding those waves, the league is out here trying to build sandbags. What are we doing? You've got the momentum. You've got the audience. You've got the once-in-a-generation player. So why are you burning bridges with the very people trying to amplify that? Sandy Brondello was never a threat. She was a believer, a veteran coach who saw the future of the league unfolding and wasn't afraid to speak truth. And instead of thanking her, they axed her. No dignity. No transparency. Just a fake smile and a door slammed behind her. And Caitlin Clark? She's not going to forget that. Because even if she stays in the league, and let's hope she does, this moment will linger. It will shape her. She'll learn quickly that this system isn't designed to protect people like her. It's designed to use them, then discard them the second they step out of line. And she won't be the only one watching. Other rookies will see it too. The next generation will see it. And they'll be left wondering, is it worth it? If success makes you a target, if loyalty gets you fired, if speaking your mind ends your career, what are we even building here? So here's what needs to happen. The league needs to issue a real statement, not another vague nod to organizational direction. They need to own the mistake. They need to restore faith, not just for fans, but for players who are quietly wondering if they're next. And they need to listen to Caitlin Clark, not silence her, not micromanage her, not keep her locked in some PR safe cage where every quote is pre-approved. Let her lead, because whether they're ready or not, she already is. This league has a chance, right now, to choose the future, to build something bold, inclusive, dynamic, or to stay stuck in old politics and stale narratives. And we all know what happens to leagues that can't evolve. They fade. We've talked about Sandy Brondello getting fired. We've talked about Caitlin Clark's reaction, and the quote that sent the internet into a tailspin. But let's talk about what's really at stake here. The soul of the league. This isn't just about one coach losing her job or one player questioning her place. This is about the culture of fear that's starting to rot the foundation from the inside out. A culture where people are afraid to speak honestly, where truth becomes subversion, where winning is no longer the goal, alignment is. And the real kicker? It's happening in real time. You can feel it, right? The tension, the shift, the sense that the league is fighting against the very things it says it wants. Growth, visibility, star power, cultural relevance. Caitlin Clark brings all of it, and yet the energy around her doesn't feel like celebration. It feels like resistance. Why? Because she didn't ask permission. She didn't wait for the gatekeepers to hand her the keys. She didn't tone it down. She didn't wait her turn in the invisible line of hierarchy. She just came in, played her game, and became a phenomenon overnight. And for some people in power, that's terrifying, because it means the old rules, they don't work anymore. You can't control how people love a player. You can't manufacture charisma. You can't force fans to rally around a narrative that doesn't feel real. And Caitlin Clark? She feels real. She's not playing a character. She's not scripted. She's not towing the safe corporate line every time a mic is in her face. She's focused, respectful, competitive, and let's not gloss over this, brilliantly marketable. She moves like a pro. She thinks like a pro. And she shows up like one, which is why it's absolutely wild that the league seems more interested in taming her than celebrating her. Let's go back to Sandy for a second. She didn't say anything inflammatory. She didn't pit players against each other. She didn't call out the league. All she did was acknowledge the obvious, that Clark has changed the game. And that truth, that simple truth, was apparently enough to get her exiled. That tells you everything you need to know about the current climate behind the curtain. It's fragile, it's defensive, and it's clearly more focused on optics than outcomes. You know how wild that is? The Liberty won a title under Brondello. Do you know how long New York waited for that? 2 decades. 20 years of building, missing, restarting, hoping, and finally, the stars aligned. And now, after one of the most successful seasons in franchise history, they're acting like she was a placeholder? Come on. You don't fire a championship coach unless you're terrified of something. Unless you feel threatened by what she represents. And what she represented. A coach with her own mind. A woman who saw where the league was heading and wasn't afraid to say out loud. That's the real problem. Because it's not about what she said. It's about what it challenged. The status quo. The unspoken rule book. The idea that growth has to come on someone else's terms. And Clark? She's not playing by those terms. She's showing the league how fast it can move if it stops gatekeeping its own success. And that's what has everyone shook. Let's call it what it is, a power struggle. On one side, you've got the traditionalists, the people who built this league with blood, sweat, and decades of underappreciated effort. They're proud, and rightfully so. But some of them, they're scared. Scared that a new wave is coming in too fast. That it's changing things they fought to build. That the spotlight is shifting. On the other side, you've got the disruptors. The ones who bring new energy, new fans, new opportunities. Players like Clark. And coaches like Brondello, who dare to say the game is evolving. And right in the middle, us, the fans. Watching it unfold like a live-action soap opera where every episode ends in chaos and a press release. We're not just watching basketball anymore. We're watching drama, politics, fear, power grabs. And every single one of us can feel that something is off. You don't have to be a diehard analyst to see what's happening. You can feel it in the way media clips are edited, in the selective silence from official accounts, in the weird, forced energy during interviews. You can feel when someone's being policed, even if no one says out loud. And you can definitely feel it when someone gets punished for telling the truth. And here's what's really scary. If they'll do it to a coach, what happens when they start doing it to players? How long until Caitlin Clark gets fined for speaking out? How long until she's labeled difficult for refusing to fit into the box? How long until rising stars start self-censoring just to protect their future? Because that's where this road leads. And it doesn't just hurt the stars, it hurts the entire league. Because when you start punishing authenticity, you push away everything that makes this sport electric. The personalities, the rivalries, the passion, the stories that make fans feel something. You can't script that. You shouldn't want to. And here's the bottom line. Clark isn't the threat. She's the lifeline. She's the one drawing millions of eyes to a league that's been fighting for visibility for years. She's the catalyst, the spark, the reason people are tuning in and staying in. So when she says, maybe I'm in the wrong league, you better listen, because she's not just speaking for herself. She's echoing a real concern that a lot of players, especially the younger ones, are carrying quietly. They love the game. They want to grow the league. But they don't want to be part of a machine that chews up progress and spits it out when it doesn't follow the script. They want a league that matches their ambition. And if the WNBA can't evolve fast enough to support that, someone else will. Maybe it's overseas leagues. Maybe it's new expansion teams with a fresh perspective. Maybe it's private ventures and player-led projects that take the game into uncharted territory. But one thing for sure, Caitlin Clark doesn't need the league nearly as much as the league needs her. So the league has a choice. Right now, it can embrace the new era, own the missteps, bring people like Brondello and Clark into the conversation instead of silencing them. Or it can keep clinging to the past, doubling down on control, and hoping no one notices the cracks. But we see the cracks. We've been watching, and we're not going anywhere. So here's the call to action. If you care about this league, really care, don't stay silent. Demand transparency. Demand accountability. And support the people who speak up, even when it costs them everything. Because that's how change happens. And to Caitlin Clark, keep going. Keep shining. Keep challenging the system. Because if this league truly wants to grow, it needs people like you leading the way, not being pushed to the edge. And to the league, don't mess this up. You only get one revolution. What do you think? Was Sandy Brondello fired for being too honest? Is Caitlin Clark being targeted for her influence? And can the league survive if it keeps sabotaging the people driving its success? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more sports drama, real talk, and stories a PR machine really doesn't want you to hear. This isn't just sports anymore. This is a movement.